But let's hear some people from Asantehene, where Masolak has been. They raise the same concern that Kaba is raising at the moment about how you know that you're not exchanging your superior cylinder for an inferior one. Let's hear them.
Nadia, Niamomo Canada, and Yamayan, say a day, your cylinder and Baba Biswo, na Niawu Webueswa, and Yafa Quanadia, and Yadumasa, and Tia de Yadi and a bar, now what Feliama, a trialca near Quay Baby.
Well, he says he doesn't think it's feasible like that because, I mean, he wants to bring his empty cylinder, get it filled, and then take his own cylinder away.
And tea, mammy, and to say me, me care abbey. Me to be, or my bua mammy, me call Quayaduma, me quana sana me san bar, or Bessan bua mammy, and dear, me tiasiasa, some me banos you, were boobies when Timinjin Sika and Nami me cylinder and a man, dear. Mentiasia and
wow.
And Yaduma.
Well, he says he thinks it's not going to work because he feels that after his rounds and when he runs out of gas, he wants to pull up here at the gas filling station, watch as the seller discharges in the gas, you know, into his empty cylinder. Then he takes it away. He thinks that's the best way to go.
Okay, for me, Nana Kojo, what I think is it's not going to work. The reason
why is it not going to work?
Okay, the reason why it's not going to work is we started with something we call door-to-door. That is where we go to people's houses and pick up the cylinders and bring them here and fill.
You started it here?
Yes. Okay. And we send it to them. Later on, we change the name as Swab and Go. The reason why we say Swab and Go is you will come here. When you come, maybe you want a cylinder. We give you a cylinder, you leave your own behind. Then we work on your own, especially when there is a fault. Then we work on your own, like the valve or anything. We do it, then later you come for it. But when they come, there is always complaints. They say what they want is not what they get. Sometimes they want, even as we are filling the gas, they want to stand here and watch the amount. They see everything on the digital machine. Leaving the cylinder here or you filling for them to come from their various houses and bring the empty one and come for this one is going to create a whole lot of problems.
Perfect time to take Kafri Day's submission on this.
Between safety considerations for the general public and political ramifications, I'll place safety as number one. I've listened to the gentleman speaking about him not being sure of whether the cylinder he will get back will be.
But that's a genuine concern.
Fine, but it is not for him to check. Our regulators must be on the ball.
Oh, really?
To make sure.
Our regulators?
To make sure. I want to make my point. To make sure that you see, whatever we are using in the public is safe. Then it's similar to me saying that I don't want to buy fuel from this filling station because I'm not sure of the quality of my fuel.
Okay.
I'm not the one who should check the quality of my fuel.
But you buy fuel from every station?
It's my
every
regulator.
other station?
I don't see any reason
Are there stations you don't trust?
No.
You trust all of them?
Yes, nothing has happened.
Because you trust that the state institutions have done their work.
That whoever is passing the stuff.
I don't.
No, well.
I admire your courage.
Nothing has happened to my vehicles. I buy from.
They will collapse your engine for you.
Nothing has happened.
I admire your courage.
So we should actually make sure that our regulators
are working. That I can agree.
So that they can ensure our safety. Otherwise, we will not drink water from the tap because we are afraid that the water is not good. We will not buy fuel from here because we are afraid that our engine will explode. So we are allowing the regulators to get off with too much, and we must now bear down on them. And I think as journalists, we must remind them that this is their job. That's why we're paying them from the taxes. And you were talking about taxes in your intro.
Yes.
Yes, our taxes must be spent well. Number two, political ramifications. Okay, we make this policy, and then the people will go and scream to the government, and the policy is reversed. Now, that is lack of boldness.
But you're making the policy for the people.
But
the people ought to buy into it.
But sometimes there are decisions you make where you trust with your gut that this is the right decision, and in spite of the backlash, you push ahead and take the decision.
Is this one of them?
Look, if
it's a
safety decision, I say go for safety. And forget the issues. It's about safety. The guy who wants to come to this filling place and look at whether his thing is being done, if there's an explosion,
wants to be sure that he's getting what he's paid for.
Is the cylinder transparent? Can you see the gas going into
I think they have a way of reading it.
Listen, and I'm looking at the press release from the LPG marketers. They claimed that they wanted to do some maintenance of their stations, and so they shut down. We know that is, excuse my French, BS. they were just trying to exert some pressure on the government.
Yeah.
Sometimes government has to play hardball with some of these guys. You know, you call their bluff. You call their bluff and say, look, you know what? We're going to use this as an opportunity to weed out the people who are not regular, who are not up to standard.
But you know, governance is not about taking extreme end positions. It's not about calling people's bluffs all the time. But it's about balancing.
But it's about boldness.
So you've got to have the people on board and have a conversation with them.
If we have all the political correctness, nothing will happen. Sometimes you have to take unpopular decisions.
But to what extent do we know? To what extent do we know that government is involving this group of people in the new policy that they want to roll out?
Well, they say we disagree and disapprove with our regulators' current mode of discharging their statutory responsibilities, which is culminating in disenchantment and unyielding distress.
That's a lot of
Meanwhile,
English.
we shall continue to engage and dialogue with the Ministry of Energy.
But so you can say that and just let it pass.
Yes.
That's also because perhaps the ministry itself is not making itself accessible. It's not opening itself up enough for you to reach out to them with your concerns.
Well, NPA, I believe, has not really been on the ball, folks. And there are some people who are calling for heads to roll there, because in the end, you are the guys.
Well, heads have already rolled. Then there's a new NPA boss.
Well,
he's been around since this
yes, so he just came. So which heads are you talking about?
But the institution doesn't revolve around the boss.
Around the boss. Hopefully
there are
not.
structures that should be
Hopefully
made
not.
available.
But in Ghana, I can tell you that there are places
the boss
where
not around.
Yes, nothing happened.
Recently, I just forget the country right now. Something happened. 7 people were killed. The guy at the top resigned.
But is the truth is, in this country, we care less about how many people die, even if this person.
And which is so sad.
Yes.
Which is so sad.
So that could be the root of one of the biggest problems of this country.
Yes.
The value, less value that we place.
And I think people in public institutions must step down and say, look, I'm ultimately responsible for this. I can't work here.
Well, stepping down.
Look at the stadium disaster.
Yes,
how many people died?
125.
Will stepping down solve the problem? I think that's also an issue that we need to look at.
I am responsible and I have failed, and that's it.
The cylinder recirculation model is not bad in its entirety. There are some very good things about it. And I think if they sit down with these gas marketers so that they plug in their holes and other places that they have concerns, you know, you carry those concerns along and rectify them. But, you know, back to one of the issues, the tape we just played, the gentleman talking about, you know, he brings his new cylinder.
And then you get an old one.
The module, when you read the policy, says that the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company will be bringing in fresh cylinders. So most likely,
entire country?
Yes, most likely, you will carry your cylinder you think is new. You will go there and you get a newer version of a cylinder, because
this is Ghana. You know, people have all kinds of ways. Recently, we did a story about diabetes, about the Diabetes Association of Ghana, where free insulins that have come into the country from Australia for children are being sold. At the end of the day, how do you know?
Denies it.
Yes, she denies it. Yes. But the fact that children have died because they did not have insulin is also a fact. It's a fact.
So there are concerns with this policy.
So that we
Government must
the
just
kinds of things that happen in
concerns.
Ghana.
But safety is of utmost importance.
Yeah.
And once safety concerns have been addressed and all the other concerns from stakeholders, from the members of the general public, then we are good to go.
Safety
We're good
first.
to go.
Safety first.
Safety first.
It's not just about sex.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's coming from somewhere, but I'm not sure if we'll go there right now. So we're still talking. This is Editors Forum. We've been looking at a few things. First of all, we've touched on the likelihood of a self-inflicted LPG shortage. I'm not really sure if we will be facing that in this week. Hopefully not. Now that the LPG retailers have called that action off, hopefully we'll be having some sustainable supply some way, somehow. We'll look at the Ameri deal. We'll look at Otumfuo's return home and a bit of those issues as well. We've looked at Delta Force already. We'll be also looking at the NCA's reprieve. We've looked at the CID boss. Let me tell you about the Otumfuo Osei. Now, he returned back home from Brazil after news about his alleged involvement in a £350,000 scandal was reported by UK-based newspaper The Telegraph. Many youth from the Ashanti region have dealt mercilessly with some media organization who reported the matter. And indeed, this week, officers of the Crusading, last week I must say, officers of the Crusading Guide newspaper,
the Daily Guide actually,
the Daily Guide, I beg your pardon, newspaper in Kumasi, were locked up. by youth, of course, supposedly defending their king. Menchia says they are not responding to, you know, the scandal, £350,000 scandal. But before I take the thought of my panelists on that, have a look at how Otumfuo Setutu, the Asantehene, arrived and was received on Thursday. Okay, so I'm not pretty sure. I think I hear something like Nkwasia Foye or something. I'm not sure. But there's a man who comes from this territory. Oh, and thankfully, he's on the show. He'll help us. Do you know that song? What does it mean? Don't look at Kafui. Kafui comes.
No, Kafui is looking at me. I'm looking at him. No trouble.
I operate in complete ignorance. You let me know what song.
So what's that song again?
It's supposed to be a chant for war. I mean, it's a war song. Usually when there's a battle, you know, such songs are sung to encourage, you know, boost morale of the traditional fighters. Okay. Yeah, so
for more vim.
So is there?
I think in this context, they sang it because, you see, whatever happened, you know, against the Otumfuo and this alleged money laundering and everything, the people saw it as an attack on Otumfuo.
On the kingdom.
If you attack Otumfuo, you have attacked the kingdom. He's embodiment and soul of the Ashanti people. And so if you attack him, you virtually attacked everybody.
Right.
So his coming was seen as a triumphant entry. He has gone, he has conquered, he is back. So the song is just to boost the morale.
Well, were they afraid that he wouldn't return?
No, I mean, they knew that he would return. But once he started base with his people, they only sing the song to just, you know, show that you cannot attack the kingdom and go scot-free.
So do you hear the words in the song?
Not
only
all
thing
of
I
them.
hear is
Not all of them.
something,
Not all of them.
and I'm not really sure.
Not all of them.
So what do you hear?
Oh, then Kwasiafo, you know.
Okay, hold on.
Everything you heard out there.
I'm going to let no, because I don't know the song. Okay, so I'm going to let my director play it again, and maybe we can hear we can get to, you know, hear other words. Let's see. Okay, so I hear Tobeto
yeah.
or something.
I mean,
the gun or something?
Yeah, like when we follow you, you know, guns.
Okay.
Must fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the basic understanding is that Otumfuo is embodiment and soul of the Ashanti kingdom. If you attack him, you've attacked the kingdom. Now, so he's back. The songs are to lift his spirit and encourage him that no matter what has happened,
we're behind you.
Whatever has happened, we are behind you. You do a cheat too, but you know, even if
so we have confidence in
blaze,
you.
We are still behind you.
Okay.
I see.
That's what I mean.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. It must be very interesting in the days of Asantehene.
Oh,
and
yes.
I can relish that moment only in my head, by the way. So let's look at the substantive issue, by the way. This issue that has caused a lot of people anguish. If you work at Daily Guide, certainly you will be a happy man on Thursday, because that was the day that they locked up their offices. Kaba, I know you come from this area, and I know you owe you know, the kingdom some sort of allegiance. But do you find, for example, what the young people did, and especially a lot of young people, I've seen a lot of insult on social media, for example. If you dare mention this issue, they insult you. Really? Is that tolerant?
No, I think that, you see, the Kumasi youth people, they are not, you see, originally we have the Ashanti Youth Association, and those who purportedly carried out the attack on the Daily Guide they are from the Kumasi Youth Association. So even I've heard their leader speak against what the young guys did.
Okay.
And everybody, even Otumfuo, will not approve of such, you know, an endeavor. You go and you try to lock up, you know, a legitimately operating business. Otumfuo himself will not approve it. I shudder to think that Otumfuo will even ask these guys to go and do what they did. They did it on their own.
Well, maybe not Otumfuo, but maybe some people who are peeved in Mensia. Mensia is a big palace, of course. There are people who love Otumfuo who will do this, not
There's
because...
somebody who hates Otumfuo in Mensia.
No, I mean...
That's a fact.
No, I mean, I'm saying that not in Mensia even. I'm saying that generally in the Ashanti region, there are people who love the man, who would do things, not because they've been asked to do it, but they love the man so much that they want to incite people to do it.
I think that act is condemnable. I mean, whoever carried out that act of locking up the office of Daily Guide didn't do anything in the interest of Otumfuo. I'm sure that in time to come, Otumfuo usually will not comment on issues when they come immediately. He will take his time, maybe one Akwesidai, you know, function that, and then he will speak to these issues. I am sure that time will come, Otumfuo himself will speak to these matters. You remember there was a time that news circulated all over that Otumfuo had gone to South Africa and has passed on.
And yes.
Immediately he didn't speak about it. When he returned after a month, 2 or so, during an Akwesidai or during a function, then he spoke about it. That's the style of Otumfuo. I am sure that when he has the time and the opportunity presents itself, he will speak against these guys who did. He will not personally approve of what the guys did, because it casts a slur on his image. He's a Democrat, even though he's a modern king. He's a modern king.
Let me ask a question. So, what
Please
exactly
ask him all the questions.
What exactly was Daily Guide's offense?
I mean, in the minds of these young guys, Daily Guide has written issues
and that's on
or
the
written
backdrop,
on matters which cast a slur on the image of
that's on the
Otumfuo.
backdrop that there was a media blackout of sorts about this matter in Kumasi, in the Ashanti region. We had that report that most of the media houses in Kumasi could not speak about this issue.
But basically, every media institution in Ghana reported this when it came out. It was on the front page of
but these are papers.
Papers. They go everywhere.
So you cannot say.
So I would have been a bit less surprised if, for example, a radio station had been attacked, a radio station in the Ashanti region or in Kumasi, because then that would have been probably we heard something and we are not happy. Or probably it's the way the headline,
you know, the Daily Guide, you know, the way they frame their story.
My colleague, I think Cementery followed up on that story, and he actually spoke to some of the staff at Daily Guide. We'll try and pull up that story and have.
I think one of the guys who spoke said
yes,
it was undemocratic. I mean, they reported a matter that a UK newspaper had reported, so they didn't think that they have done anything.
You don't agree with them?
What did the staff said? I mean, what did they do wrong?
Nothing. They just
except that, you see, because the headlines, for a lot of people, they read headlines, they don't read a story. So once they see the headline, they want to go along with it. I mean, whatever the headline says is what they think the story actually carries.
I'm heavy on you because you come from there. You are a journalist, and I believe that you have your own allegiance to the king. No, hold on. Don't take it personally.
No, we treated this story.
I know that you have some sort of allegiance. I mean, I'm hearing you speak about it, and I can tell that you cannot remove your emotions from it. You're attached to
I have discussed all the topics
now.
Exactly the way I'm doing it now.
I'm asking you this because my question is, I want to find out where can we create a balance between and the Ashanti Kingdom and everything that's happening there. I mean, today I was looking at one of their videos and I thought, wow, this is nice. But and my father is an Ashanti man, so I'm looking at this situation and thinking, where do we strike the balance?
Between
doing journalism and doing this? It's as if the Mensia has assumed this sort of untouchable institution.
But what did Mensia do in this particular
instance? Mensia has not done anything. But I'm saying this on the basis that when people are afraid to report on a particular story, that doesn't go well for journalism, does it?
I'm not sure. You see, whatever the situation, maybe you might be coming from a certain viewpoint, but let's contextualize the issues and zoom on to the matter that happened. If you want to link it to any other matter that has happened that Mensia stepped in, that would be different. You know, in this particular matter, Mensia has not spoken. They've not said anything about it. So to say that Mensia has assumed, quote unquote, an untouchable position, I will beg to
Maybe
differ.
the question is, do you self-censor when you see stories that have to do with Mensia? I mean, if this
in
was,
Kumasi,
yes.
is this something that happens?
Do you check yourself before you decide?
No, not like do you check. Do you have to necessarily check yourself?
Yeah.
But whatever story, I mean, journalism practice says that whatever story that you want to go out with, you must get the other side.
No,
of
and
the story.
the check here is
so. So if it's a story about Mensia,
triple.
you get people who are responsible to speak for and on behalf of Otumfuo of Mensia to speak to the issue.
But as I'm sure you also know that to even remotely link the king to issues of money laundering is something that
it's a big deal.
Nobody will want to even hear.
But the point is that once you decide to link him, you must have evidence to prove that he has engaged in money laundering. And the evidence available in the UK court was not to the effect that there has been money laundering. It was to the effect that a bank official collected money from the Otumfuo, decided to go through a cap before getting to the bank and depositing without reporting that this is what has happened. And so he was questioned, queried, and then dismissed thereafter. And then he is questioning his dismissal.
Because
that's
this
the story.
the first time he's
yes, that's the story. So to move on to another level and say that, well, because Asumesi, you know, this gentleman has done X, Y, Z, he's been reprimanded for it, he thinks that he's been given a raw deal, he's contesting it. How does that link that to Otumfuo carrying out money laundering?
Because when I read the UK story, they said if you make a deposit higher than a particular amount of money,
it's supposed to be reported.
It triggers, yes.
It's supposed to be. Even in Ghana, we have a financial intelligence unit. If you deposit money in your account beyond a certain level, I mean, they know that Kafu works with the EIB. Probably he's paid 10,000 cedis, and then he does that. He's written books. So he has.
We're talking about Otumfuo.
Just a quick one, just so we are not misinforming
so
the
Kafu
public.
has.
I'm not.
Side issues. So 10,000 his salary. He has a book. He does MC here and there. So give or take, on the average, maybe 30,000 a month. He will deposit that in his account. And then the financial intelligence will have all this, and then which one?
Then 100 comes.
So they will pick it.
Okay.
And the bank is supposed to report to the financial intelligence unit that this amount has hit this person's account, and then they begin to find out what kind of work is he engaged in. Where could be the money coming from? You know, is it drugs? Is it terrorism? Is it human trafficking? You know, so all these things are supposed to curb all these things. That is why it will raise an eyebrow. But from the story, as we are told by the Telegraph, the gentleman has been depositing money in Otumfuo's account with these levels of cash or these levels of amount. So it was not out of the ordinary. Except that the way he carried about, or the way he went about carrying about his duty, because you cannot carry 350,000 pounds in a black cabin on the streets of London. What if somebody hijacked you? Were you going to tell the bank, or you were going to tell Otumfuo that the money he gave to you, you know? So there were issues as far as his banking practices were concerned, and those are the issues that I think we should be worried about. You know, because initially even the UK press reported that Otumfuo, what do we call it? The passport had expired. They came apologizing that it wasn't so. They got that wrong. So there were a lot of misconceptions as far as this story was concerned. And Mensia, in my mind, will think that report on the story factually as it is.
Okay.
And that has always been the position of Mensia. Report on the story as factually as it is, without blemish.
I've personally seen people condemning, insulting people on social media, not because they said anything that was not factual, but just because you mentioned the story, just because you
mentioned that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So which way was it mentioned?
I mean, why even
that Otumfuo is being investigated?
The moment you
because
mention
Otumfuo was
anything
not
about
under
Otumfuo,
investigation.
No, but he wasn't. But then the insults, that's what I'm finding very.
You cannot blame that.
A certain level
you cannot
of
blame that
extreme
on
intolerance.
You cannot blame that on Dementia. You cannot blame that on the kingdom.
I'm not linking that to Dementia. I'm linking that to
actions.
That's what I'm saying.
Are individuals.
No, that's what I'm
maybe
saying.
the subjects are overzealous in their their protection of the king.
So how do we deal with such a problem? Because obviously it's a problem. It's a problem of intolerance.
Continue to talk to people so they understand that. Because Otumfuo himself is a modern king. You know, there are a lot of traditional practices that he has tried to, modernize and to portray it in such a way that people don't see it as fetish, quote and unquote.
Example.
Example?
Yeah.
Which example comes to mind readily?
If none comes, just so you don't get into trouble. Move on.
I'm getting into trouble. I'm trying to figure out just one of them and give it to you.
The old days they used to execute people. Does that happen again?
Human sacrifice is long gone. It's been long gone.
You know that for a fact.
It's been long gone. I'm from the parliament.
Kafui, let me do my job. now I think you're interrogating my panelists. And it's unfair.
No, in my area they used to sacrifice.
Human sacrifice was all over.
There were particular drums that were made from the skin of
But let's look at the positive side though, if there is anything like that. The way that your subjects could come to your rescue, sort of. Yeah. Is that something that could help us as Africans, as Ghanaians?
Well, you saw it with the welcome at the airport.
Yeah. If we begin to look at something like
this,
this,
people are proud of their monarch, proud of their leader, and look, we want to defend you to the hilt.
They are proud of their traditions and customs.
That kind of loyalty you can't buy. That people are willing to go through thick and thin for you.
What can we do with that kind of...
CEOs would love that kind of loyalty.
Yeah, but what can we do with that kind of loyalty in the national interest?
Yeah, so I think the owners will now rely on the leader to harness that kind of loyalty and channel those energies into productive ventures. As Kaba was saying, he's sure that down the line, the king will speak about this attack that took place
on Daily Guide.
And in a way also educate the people, look guys, if you have a problem with somebody, this is not the way to go about it. It casts a slur on the kingdom that we are all trying to protect.
And they listen to Otumfuo a lot.
No, definitely. So as Samakwe said there, I won't be surprised where he will make a statement like that. Yeah. So it's the leader's responsibility to channel these energies into positive
certainly. And I have no doubt. Exuberance, I have no doubt in my mind.
Young people.
I have no doubt in my mind that Otumfuo will do the right thing about this. One day, like Kaba is very sure of, he will address this issue, and I'm sure that they must have spoken to these young people because there are still laws in this country. And no matter the level of your loyalty, there are still laws in this country that ought to be respected. Let's take a quick look at the NCA's reprieve. And I have the statement from the ministry. Now the NCA, I don't know whether we should be applauding the NCA or criticizing them for lack of the will to stick to their guns, because as we know, the NCA has slashed into the penalties that they slapped on media outlets, owners of media outlets for defaulting on their financial obligations to the state for many years. And does this not defeat their consistent argument of enforcing the rule of law, which they have made in Parliament? But if we do have a little bit of time, why don't we have a look at what happened at the Daily Guide premises? I think we have that video now, and then when we come back, sorry,
the Kumasi one,
the Kumasi, yes. Okay. Then when we come back, we'll have a chat about the NCA.
I just don't understand why we have to report on an issue which doesn't cause any mayhem to the community, the same community that we sacrifice our life to go where people don't go, to voice the voiceless, to just expose the rot and to inform the public, educate, entertain them. If you come to the office in the morning and you realize that your office have been locked with some unusual inscription, at least it puts fear in you. At least you just don't understand why you have to sacrifice your life, work for the nation, but then they wouldn't appreciate what you do for them. So
okay, I'm not cutting you short, but do you think that journalists are being targeted in this whole episode?
Well, I wouldn't say journalists have been targeted. This story that cropped up, it was a developing story and everybody was following keenly. And at the end of the day, we reported on both sides and we realized that indeed the man involved, the alleged money laundering, has been rubbish. So I don't understand why they have to do this. And I would say this is the first time I'm witnessing this, and I would say this is not good for the journalism fraternity at all. Security is very, very paramount. You know, the work we do, whatever you do, definitely it will affect someone positively and someone also negatively. And we think we are doing our work. We are reporting or we are informing the public, but definitely someone may be hurt with our report, even though it wouldn't be intentional. So I would think journalism office or media houses should be properly secured so that people wouldn't just come in and go out without proper checks.
Does it mean that you are asking them to be on alert for similar attacks on them, on their offices?
Absolutely. Like I said, looking at the nature of job we do, you may report without even thinking that you hurt the feelings of others, but then the person would feel hurt.
Cementery there with one of the journalists at the Daily Guide newspaper. I'm not sure if you have any quick comments on that. Otherwise, we can move on with the NCA, shall we?
NCA is the place to be.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Too much money potentially going there, you know.
Very well. Well, so like I indicated, they have issued some sort of statement. Let me go through that quickly for you. Let's see if we can take some out. It says, following the presentation of the Honorable Minister for Communication on the floor of Parliament on October 19, 2017, the Ministry of Communications, in consultation with the National Communications Authority, has offered the following reprieve for FM broadcasting stations which were sanctioned for committing various infractions. Community and institutional FM broadcasting stations, the pecuniary penalties which were imposed on the FM broadcasting stations in this category have been waived. In addition to this, these stations are to regularize their operations, pay their outstanding indebtedness, and submit renewal applications on all outstanding documents as applicable within 30 days from the date of this release, which was on a Friday, 20th of October. So in 30 days, if they don't do that, then perhaps they're saying that we don't want the frequency anymore. The stations in this category have the option also to petition the Honorable Minister for Communications for a review of the revocation of the authorization within 10 days from Friday, 20th October 2017. After receipt of their petitions, they will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, following which the Minister will determine the applicable sanctions. In terms of the commercial broadcasting stations, says defaulting commercial FM broadcasting stations that were fined by the NCA have also had their fines reduced by 50%. They have 30 days from October 2017 to pay the 50% reduced penalties or have their authorizations reviewed. Shall we be clapping for them? Or shall we be angry, actually, that they have not been able to? Because they've been arguing that they are only promoting the rule of law. They now that they are, slashing it by 2, really, what has happened? What should we do? Clap for them, applaud them, or just say, really?
So the Minister of Communications celebrated her birthday on Friday.
Yeah, happy birthday to her.
With
happy birthday to her. Shall we sing the happy birthday now, or should we end
when we are done?
Okay.
I do not think that this was a birthday gift from her to those who
the media houses
were supposed to pay the fine. And I'm seeing it reported as NCA shows mercy slashes FM stations fines by 50%. There's argument that these fines shouldn't have being calculated the way they were calculated.
The way it was in the first
brought
place.
back so far back into time, I mean, back even as far as 2000, and then slapped on these people. We're looking at a total of 1.18 billion CDs of fines that were slapped on 131 various stations. And so the arguments are that look, these fines were even not supposed to have been calculated this way, and for you to now say 50% is unacceptable. I've seen calls, and regrettably in Ghana, these calls always come from a political angle.
Yeah, because they spent a lot of time on this in Parliament, and will pull up that.
Yeah, so even beyond Parliament, I've seen conversations of NDC communicators talking, saying, look, there has to even be a demonstration against this. You cannot talk about 50% slashing. There should be no fines at all.
At all.
It's a clampdown on
what do you
democracy.
think? Should they go ahead with 50%? Okay.
NCA must work within the remit of the law.
Of the law.
If fines,
because they went to the maximum, really.
Yes.
The fines that they imposed on people were from the maximum that the law allows. Okay,
are
so you could have
legal?
started
because there
somewhere.
are questions. There are some people even wondering whether these fines. Has Parliament approved these fines?
The NCA says it's legal.
So if it's legal, let's go by I believe, I am for one, I am for regulatory bodies doing their work. We shouldn't complain about regulatory bodies saying, look, they're not working. And when they work, we say they're biting too hard. No, they should do their work, but it must be done strictly according to the law. They must not be seen to be, it must not be seen to be a vindictive thing where you are attacking people because they've come from a particular angle, which has been shut down anyway, because there are some stations who have been closed down who have nothing to do with the NDC or are not sympathetic to the NDC or have no colorations with the NDC. So that's my position, really. Let's go according to the law. According to the law.
Yes. So 50% okay, I guess. I mean, because 50, like they're saying, it was actually, let's hear the minister in Parliament earlier. I think this was on Thursday, Friday, one of those. Let's listen to the minister.
The NCA's sanction of radio stations is one issue that caught the attention of many, including minority legislators who described the move as harsh with the potential of causing loss of jobs. Ningo Prampram MP Sam George proceeded to file a statement on the matter, but it wasn't admitted by the Speaker. Delivering her statement, Communications Minister Eslousu Ekufu revealed some affected stations have petitioned her office on the matter.
Mr. Speaker, the same law that gives the NCA the power to sanction gives the minister, me, the power to review the sanctions when petitioned. I have received some petitions on this matter, and they will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. I am inclined to deal a little leniently with the community radio stations, but even they will pay a significant fine. All these stations must demonstrate their willingness to respect and obey the rules going forward. Mr. Speaker, we must acknowledge and applaud the NCA for having the guts to take this decision and encourage other agencies to do same.
Minority members then took turns to contribute to the statement. While some described the sanction as excessive, others called for mercy.
Right, Honorable Speaker, in ending, I will give you a typical example of some of the arbitrariness that has been shown by the NCA in the application of its punitive actions. The Gazette document, the schedule of penalties, of fees, it was gazetted on the 25th of April 2015. But you see the NCA using and that Gazette, one must be put on record, was not approved by this House. But even if we forget about that, Right Honorable Speaker, you are a seasoned lawyer, and you know, Right Honorable Speaker, as many other lawyers in this chamber, that the laws of Ghana prohibit a retrospective application of laws.
Let us not engage in actions that will kill them. Let's rather support them. It is not for nothing that in enacting the law, there was a proposal to set up a fund, an investment fund, so that with that fund, we can support these establishments. So I appeal to the Minister for Communication that the ongoing effort to clamp down on certain radio stations, and of course, some of them, because of their previous notoriety for certain statements that were made on those frequencies, I can understand some motivation. But Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is that this is not going to bode well for freedom of expression in this country.
We're told that some of these gazettes and others and the fee fixing have not come before this House, for this honorable House to give sanction and approval to such fees and levies. So on what score, on what authority? Honorable Member.
MP for Efutu Afenyomakin, however, disagreed with the minority view. He insisted the NCA was acting within the law.
Mr. Speaker, it says to respect the rights, freedoms, and legitimate interests of others, and generally to refrain from doing acts detrimental to the welfare of other persons. Mr. Speaker, should we, in the name of free speech, allow radio stations to act irresponsibly? No. Should we, in the name of free speech, allow people to do anything detrimental to others? No. Mr. Speaker, when the issue of Muntie 3 arose, the Supreme Court did not limit itself to the conduct. Mr. Speaker, when the issue of Muntie 3 arose, the Supreme Court did not only limit itself to the offending parties. The Supreme Court went the extra mile of inviting the directors of the radio station, and in fact reprimanded them as directors, although they were not directly involved.
The Roads Minister is expected to answer questions from members of the House on Friday.
So that's how the conversation went on in Parliament about 50%, being slashed off, all of that. Kafu, I come to you for your other comments because you've made a preliminary comment already. Kaba, it's your turn.
Well,
is it a good thing?
In this whole thing, what the NCA did, and I tend to agree with Kafu when he says that regulatory institutions must be encouraged to, as a matter of principle, do justice per their mandate. But in the discharge of that mandate, you don't operate in a vacuum. You operate in an industry, you operate with stakeholders, you operate with virtually everybody. And I was actually doing some checks. A law must be seen to be applying to equally everybody. It must be fair, it must be understandable, it must be enforceable, and it must be reasonable. Now, this NCA Act that the NCA decided to, invoke has been in existence for a long time. Why they renege on that responsibility all these years? Because anytime I bring out this argument, they will say, oh, this is a new NCA. And I say, excuse me, which new NCA?
What did the other NCA
The institution has been there for all this while.
It's a new head. That's
yes. We only have a new chief executive and a new board. But the structures that have been set up per law have always been there. Tomorrow, if the MPP gets out of power, the board and the CEO goes, all the other directors, all the other directors and those engaged, as civil or public servants will continue to be there. So why did they refuse to invoke the law all these years?
That's because the political appointees have so much power that they don't even make the technocrats do their jobs.
That's what has bedeviled this country.
That's the problem.
That's where we are now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't even be talking about this. It would have been, I think, regularly done, and it won't raise any eyebrow. So institutions must be encouraged to act anytime that they deem fit, that they realize that there are matters that they must attend to. So this has, a ripple effect on the NCA, on the MPA, on the EPA, and all those regulatory institutions who are charged with certain mandates to carry it out.
Okay.
So for you to sit there for 17 years for a radio station
to happen,
not to
they've received a lot of backlash. They've received a lot of backlash for that. So you're basically the two of you are saying.
That is why I tend to agree to a certain extent. Those who say that, well, you may have a sinister motive.
You don't think
they might not have had any sinister motive,
but it makes it look as though they're doing so for political.
On your rights for 17 years, and then you get up all of a sudden and say, today I'm deciding to implement the law. Hello.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And in this whole enterprise, perceptions are very important.
True.
So then let's come to the sanctions. The sanctioned 131 radio stations, 34 were revoked entirely. Now they're saying that they are giving 10 days to the 34.
If you have a petition, yes, bring it to the minister.
Well, I think it's good. It's all well and good because you see, there are two sides of this whole equation. Yes, the radio stations aired. They didn't, you know. So, you know, when you make this argument, there are people like, oh, okay, how about multimedia with all its brands? How about EIB with all its brands? They were not sanctioned. Does it mean that those who
they're complying
have complied with the law, what becomes of whatever they have paid? Are you going to give them a reprieve? Are you going to beat the price down?
Okay, that's another interesting question.
Point is that, well, I think they have listened. The radio stations have a certain role to play in our body politic, in our democracy. The fact that they have aired, they should have been treated first-time offenders like just any other law. When somebody offends the law for the first time, you are taken to court. The lawyers
but what they're paying, the question you asked about other stations that have complied, what they're paying is more than that because they've had penalties added, so that makes it more than what those who have complied have paid.
So,
but let me just read through a few comments that I have here because we'll be ending in a few minutes now. So there's this Paul, and I hope I mention your name well all the time. He says that two vandals at it. Good evening to you. Are you both vandals?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, really?
M1.
Truth stands.
M1, that's my room number. That's where I graduated with.
Oh, you guys don't look like vandals. You guys don't look like vandals. You don't look like vandals at all. I'm quite disappointed.
Let's give him some points. You're right.
No, I'll let you do a sing along with the Otumfuo's war song. But in the meantime, Paul. So yeah, I'm sure they've made you happy this evening. Says Muntie 3 sits on radio and verbally abuse judges. Justice Akufo's court sentence 10,000 fine each, 30,000 fine for the owners of the radio station and 3 months jail term. Delta forces physically attacked the judge. They didn't physically attack the judge, really. And the courts free their brothers. Okay, suspects jail break stunt. I'm not really sure what you're trying to communicate. Court sentence 1,800 fine. Free. Go home. SMH only God. What? Only God is true. So basically, okay, I think it makes some sense. It says riotous behavior, punishment is minimum 1 day, maximum 3 years, or fine of 500 Ghana cedis, or both. The district magistrates and had jurisdiction to impose custodial sentence. The learned magistrates failed to impose deterrent sentence. He knows why. I don't know why. James H.E. Senanu says the happenings at the police, particularly at CID top job, is corruption elevated. Okay. From Cherepone, Prince Tahiru Wyamson says, I greet you and your competent two panelists. Kaba is demanding hugely from Honorable Ken to back his claim with evidence, yet his explanations so far on government decisions are embedded on the realms of speculations. Kaba, over to you. Judgments sometimes are discretionary, and presidents Kafui and Kaba dissatisfied with the fines slap Delta Force, but shouldn't forget our court sometimes are chamber of mercies. You remember Sir John versus Atuguba JSC. Okay, so those are your comments there. As and when we
I would have been glad if he gave specifics on the speculations.
On the speculation that which which
one did I or what did I say that amounted to speculation? Anyway, you should come back
before you go. Truth stands.
Yes.
Right. So James H.E. Senanu says, so the Ashantis think they are the only, really, should we go down this lane? They're the only special people in the country. If your chiefs can send that huge sum of money out of the country and you say they should not talk about it, okay, you're asking a question. I'm not sure if you want to react to that, but we can
There's no law that bars you from carrying money.
There is.
So long as you declare. So long as you declare.
So do we know if it was declared?
In Ghana, it's about $10,000.
Do we know if it was
above
declared?
That, you must declare.
We don't know. We don't know whether the money left here and went there. It could have been money from UK to the bank. So all those unanswered questions, really, yeah. Yeah. What I'm thinking, though. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So NCA, good to go. It looks like a listening NCA. We'll see what kind of petition they receive, and we'll see which station can actually survive the kind of sanctions that have been imposed on them. I don't know if you have any final words. Otherwise, we can touch on Ameri and wrap up with my favorite, what has become my favorite song, Otumfuo's welcome song. Do you have anything to say about Ameri? So basically, on the Ameri. The minority members of parliament boycott they boycotted that discussion on whether or not the Mary deal should be rescinded. Let's look at what happened in Parliament. What we do actually have now is Dr. Donko's reaction. If you recall, Katie Hammond, Katie Hammond had, stated his side of the matter, and he made his argument why he thinks that it should be rescinded. Dr. Donko then had to answer. It was all of this was done, in the full glare of the media. But we spoke to him afterwards.
I sincerely think his procedure is wrong. Our standing orders have no place for rescission of a decision taken by another parliament. Our standing order says we can rescind a decision within a section, and the section is a year, within the year. The intentions might have been honorable, but the process, in my opinion, is wrong. And Honorable Katie Hammond, my brother, and I've told him he was wrong. But it's all in wanting the best for Ghana. I think it's a learning experience for all the parties. And I wish this had been done earlier, rather than the mudslinging and calling names. I believe we should be talking to each other. It's very easy after the emergency. You were all here in 2015. After the emergency is over, we are on safe ground to look back and say, oh, you should have done this, you should have done this, when you are standing from a position of safety. And
Dr. Kwabena Donko, there two issues that I want us to address before we quickly wrap up is whether or not the minorities boycott presents them, to be a responsible opposition, sort of, or tantrums that Ghanaians really do not, just throwing tantrums that Ghanaians really do not deserve. Secondly, we want to sit back and look at the issue, more as a news consumer and not as a news producer, whether or not we clearly understand the issues and how it's been reported by the media so far. So over to you, my vandals in the studio. whoever wants to start can go.
Well, let me take a first bite at the cake. Well, boycotts can always happen, but the nature of boycotts is that you are in the minority. So you boycott, it's a symbolic gesture, but nothing really can come of it. It's all noise.
Doesn't change anything,
signifying nothing, really. So you can do that and get a few headlines, but it won't change anything. The majority has the numbers to push these things through. So that's number one. I'm looking at the statements coming out from the various interested parties. I look at Mary, who have issued a statement on this, and they say, look, they gave Ghana the best deal, but the government can go ahead and criticize the deal. So that's their position.
Well, government doesn't just want to criticize; they want to take our money back.
Yes.
No, they want to review
it, right?
And Mary says they gave
value,
the best value for money. That's what they are saying. So it's up to those who are against this to now try and point or punch holes in whatever they say. For me, everything boils down to politics. See, so. And that's where, if you want to understand things in Ghana, you have to look at things you have to put on political lenses and look at things. Everything that the previous people did would be bad. Everything
but away from the politics,
if you were to our governance is structured.
If you were to appreciate the issue, not as a journalist, would you say that from work done by the journalists, that the issues have really been broken down, it's been well communicated, so people understand why we are following it? Because it seems that we are all following the political angle of it.
Even if you look at the numbers, we keep hearing 150 million, we've been shortchanged by $150 million, so that figure is always there. The government guys will also tell you that, look, this is the best deal, it's the best guarantee to give us energy. We can always keep digging, but how far?
Kaba.
Well,
unfortunately, time has run out on us. But your thoughts?
I think government should go ahead and review the agreement. Whatever this parliament decides to do, I'm sure that ultimately they have the numbers to do it. They should go ahead and do it. If it ends up in a reduction of the amount of money we pay to Mary, well and good. Yep. Back to our coffers, and that's all the Ghanaian people want. Saving the taxpayer of the amount of money goes into projects and stuff that are carried out by government. So government should just go ahead and review it, and we'll wait and see what happens.
We'll wait and see what happens. Interesting conversation we've had. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. By the way, I'm going to be leaving you with Otumfuo's, like I'm saying, what's becoming my friend. I'm going to learn that song.
Ringtone.
I will. Not really. I hardly have a ringtone. It's always on silence. But I've been here with Kafui Day. Kafui Day is morning show host at GH1, and also Kwejo Asariba for Kaba. Hey. Kojo Asari. Oh, okay, wait. Kojo Asariba for Champo, who, by the way, had his birthday on Friday. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kaba. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now? Stop vandalizing my happy birthday song. So, and happy birthday. This song goes to you as well, Minister of Communication, Madam Eslo Usu. I'm looking for you to interview you, so please make yourself available.
See me.
My name is Gifty.
I'll let you get
Okay. My name is Gifty and Apia. This has been Editors Forum. I hope that you've picked up a few thoughts, a few things that will, trigger some good thoughts in you. To a very good week. I wish you all the best. And here is Otumfuo for you. Enjoy.